Welcome to Lead Empowered TV. I am your host, Nathan Mitchell. Today we've got a conversation that I think every leader, entrepreneur, and business owner is going to lean into. Our guest knows something most people in business desperately need to understand, and that is visibility isn't vanity, it's impact. Joining us is Kim Speed, a brand visibility expert, author, speaker, and marketing trainer who has made it her mission to help professional service businesses stop blending in and start standing out. Kim doesn't just talk about branding. She helps businesses build brands that actually attract the right people, establish real credibility, and yes, make money doing work that they genuinely love. After seeing too many small businesses overlooked by big agencies, Kim founded Purple Moon Creative, a brand and marketing boutique dedicated to entrepreneurs who refuse to stay invisible. In my opinion, that's exactly the kind of leadership and business advice that the marketplace needs right now. So I want to encourage you today to settle in, take a breath, lean in, and get ready. This is going to be a powerful, practical, and inspiring conversation. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. This is great. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you. I know this has been a long time coming, and I was grateful to meet you in a couple of networking groups, including the Hounds of Business community. So a quick shout out to them, and just really excited about the conversation today and to learn from you. I'm a business owner myself, so I know that I'm also going to be able to take away things from this conversation that I can apply to my own business. But Kim, when you talk, we'll get started here. When you talk with a business owner that says, we're great at what we do, but nobody knows about us, what's the very first thing that you look for?
Well, that's a great question. So I don't start with marketing or looking at their marketing. I actually start with looking at their messaging. Are they clear? So most visibility problems aren't exposure problems, they're messaging problems. And when somebody tells me nobody knows about us or I'm the best kept secret, my first instinct is to ask where they're not to ask where they're posting or how often. I don't care where they are at that point. What I want to know is whether their message is actually clear. So the very first thing to look at is to hear when I ask them what they do. Are they, do they have a message that has a lot of jargon or industry speak, or are they clear? Are they clear on who they help, what they help them with, and why it matters? Can they say that in one or two simple sentences? And a lot of businesses are great at what they do, but they are so close to it, right? That they describe their work in the way that they think about it, not the way their ideal client recognizes them. And they'll say things like, we offer customized solutions or high quality services, which might be true, but it doesn't give anyone a reason to lean in and say, tell me more. So that's what I do is that's the first thing we do is look at how are you presenting yourself?
Yeah, and really, when I was trying to, kind of come up with my elevator pitch for my own business, I have to say that was some of the most difficult work to do.
Yes.
I thought I had it, and then I, worked with some mentors who are in the same space, that I am, leadership development, and they just continued to challenge me to refine it and refine it even more, to the point that it actually like fits in the, number of spaces you're allotted on your LinkedIn profile. And I just
Yeah.
didn't realize, how difficult it could be to break down your business in just a 2 or 3 sentences and clearly communicate what you do. But it's so important work.
And it's really good, as you said, to work with somebody else,
Yeah.
not do this in a silo. I mean, sure, you can start off that way, but you really have to share it. And because you do get in your own head and you have your own thoughts about your industry that you don't even realize that people have no clue about.
Yeah, and just because it makes sense to me doesn't mean that it makes sense to, a third party observer at the end of the day, right? So
Exactly.
being able to see that through another lens, another set of eyes, like yourself, I just think is so valuable.
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. You need you need a team to build your business.
Yes, you sure do. Kim, a lot of small business owners, they think that branding, is just logos and colors. And, in your opinion, what do they most often get wrong about just visibility, especially in, the virtual world and online world that we live in today, where it's really so important that people grasp what you do?
Well, this is my soapbox. this is
Okay,
my,
let's do it.
this makes me crazy. So visibility isn't visual. It's actually verbal and emotional.
Hmm.
And the best way to describe this and how I've made it clear for a lot of people that I work with is I want you to think about brand versus branding. They are two different things in my world. Your branding is your logo and your website and your colors and your fonts, and it's all of the things that people think about when they say, I need a brand. I need to do brand development. I need brand strategy. They are usually coming to me and saying that I want a logo and I want a website. And although those things are important, they are nothing if you don't have the foundation of a brand. And a powerful brand isn't what your business looks like, it's what people understand, what they remember, and repeat about you when you're not in the room. So the business that actually stands out doesn't just look doesn't just look good or like great creative visuals, or it doesn't just sound clear. They're known for what problem they solve and how to say it in a way that their ideal client instantly recognizes themselves. So visibility isn't about being everywhere. It's about being unmistakable when the right person finds you. And once that clarity is there, the logo and the colors actually start to work with you when as a support. So they do come in as an important part, but not in the beginning. You can actually start your business without having your branding, but you have to have your brand.
Yeah, that's such a good point because I've met so many people throughout the course of my professional career, and some of them highly successful individuals, right? They can clearly articulate what they do. And some of
Mm-hmm.
them don't even have a strong web presence. Some of them may not even have a website where they're promoting their business or real active on social media, but they're showing up to networking groups, they're in the right rooms, and they're clearly articulating what they do to the
Yes.
audience. And from what
Yes.
I'm hearing from you today, that is as much as important, if not more important, than the whole website and development piece. Because as we know, the internet today is just loaded with content, right? And it really is
Yeah.
like trying to find, be found like a needle in a haystack sometimes.
And even when you do have that website, like, yes, of course, everybody goes and they, once they hear about you in some form, yes, they want to go to your website. So what is your website saying? Because they're reading it. So are you saying the right things? If you don't know who you want to be and who you help and how you help them, if you aren't explaining that on your website right away, they're going to bounce off.
Yeah. So my assumption is that the messaging is not clear. Your website's not going to convert into subscribers, possible clients, those types of things.
Yeah, well, and with people have such little attention span that
Yeah.
they won't even stay there to find out about you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kim, you work with professionals who have transitioned into becoming independent service business owners. What's one mistake that you see that those leaders and business owners make over and over when it comes to marketing themselves?
The biggest thing is that people market their competence instead of their value. And this is especially common with service providers because they genuinely are excellent at what they do. And they assume that that should speak for itself. And you know what? When I first started my business, I was guilty of this too. I didn't understand what needed to be explained. And the mistake I see over and over is that they focus on telling people what they do, not on the changes that they help people with. And I have a great example of this. Imagine that you're driving your car and you start to hear some strange sounds coming from the engine, and you're concerned enough that you drive to your mechanic shop or a mechanic shop, and you go inside and you tell them, there's some strange noise coming from my engine, and the guy at the desk says, here you go, here's a menu. And all it does is list all of the things that they do. It's their expertise. Well, you wouldn't know what to choose, or what their skills are going to, which one to choose to solve your problem, because you don't understand what the problem is. But if that same mechanic listened to you and then replied, well, this could be nothing at all, but let's take a look. Let's pull it into the bay and do some diagnostics on it. That's how we usually start, to find out what the issue is. And at least that way, maybe we can stop the noise, or if there's something, we can then tell you about it and give you a plan on how it could be fixed. See how all of a sudden that is answering the customer's problem, not telling them, oh, we can do this, we can do mufflers, we can do brakes. I don't know whether that's something that's going to solve my problem. So people don't hire expertise. They hire relief for their problem, clarity on what the solution is, confidence in who's going to do it, or momentum. And the momentum a service provider starts to lead with is to tell them the problem that they're going to solve for them, the transformation they create. Marketing then stops feeling like self-promotion if you're out there telling people how you can help them, how you can add value. And that is another big thing. Like, none of us like to go out there and feel like the salesman. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're just serving up, your skills. This is what I do. This is what I do. And you need this. How do I know? Tell me why. So most service providers market what they do instead of why it matters. And that's what keeps great businesses invisible.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's really important for the small business owner, especially those in the professional services industry, to make sure that they are educating their prospective clients on how they can help them. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yes, yeah. And don't just list how good you are at what you do. Tell people how what does that mean to them, and
Right.
how
Yeah,
is
they
that
don't
going to
care
help
about
them.
credentials at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So, Kim, Purple Moon Creative, came from seeing small businesses get ignored by big agencies. What did you want to do differently from day one in your business and the work that you do with small business owners?
Well, Nathan, I actually came from, I spent almost 20 years as a creative director in the agency world, and I understood, what agencies did for their clients, but I understood that they also needed clients that were, of a certain size and a certain budget. And the reason that I um, started working with small business owners was that I had my very first small business client referred to me from an agency because she wanted to have her business marketed, and she wanted to start and do it properly. So she was looking for an agency to help her. But as I said, she just didn't have a big enough budget, and they couldn't spend the time with her. So they referred her to me. And at that point, I hadn't even been taking on small business um, owners. I was actually working with larger corporations at that time. But I could see that this person had such a great business model, and so we worked together, and I was able to help her clarify her message and brand her business so that it served a specific audience, and I was able to help her, figure out some marketing solutions that fit her budget. And she was able to grow that business from one location to actually opening two more locations. And that's when I realized that there's so many people out there that they don't fit into the agency model. They don't fit into those marketing types of solutions. And I really dug in and said, these people need to be heard. I want to be able to help them. So that was the big light bulb moment for me. And that's why I started helping small business owners.
Yeah, well, what a success story. I mean, to go from one location to adding another two locations is such a big win for that individual. So
Yeah,
I'm sure they were
yeah.
extremely grateful for having the opportunity to work with you and to ultimately build their business the way that they did as a result of the expertise that you shared with them.
Yeah, and it was a great relationship, and it ended up being a great referral source for me too, because she understood the value, and
Right.
then could share that with other business owners.
So, Kim, for those small business owners, that are listening to this episode today who want to become more visible, and I will say more visible to the right people, and they want to do it quickly, let's say maybe within the next, 60 to 90 days, what would you tell them to start doing tomorrow, next week, to really kind of hit the ground running the best they can?
Short answer, if you want to be more visible within the next 90 days, I would say get clear on your message. Pick one place to show up and say the same thing consistently to the right person.
Which goes back to what we talked about at the top of the hour, right? Just getting clear and having clarity in our message and being
Yeah.
able to communicate that in just literally 15 or 30 seconds.
Yes. And I would say, just like you said that you worked on, I would say tomorrow, if you don't have this done, the the very first thing I do is get clear on your one sentence. The same thing that you did, Nathan.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second. We've got about 5 minutes left in our time together. What are some of the things that you suggest that people incorporate into, an elevator pitch when they're trying to bring that clarity to their message and really, narrow it down to two or three sentences? What are the components of that make it successful at the end of the day?
Um, Really knowing who you want to talk to. So we always talk about, niching down or
Yeah.
niching down. And, it's one of the hardest things to do. It really
It's
is
kind of scary,
because,
right? I mean, as a business owner, I kind of felt like I was isolating myself maybe, or kind
yes.
of removing myself from the opportunity to work with a broader market. But uh, I've learned that if I try to be everything to everyone, I'm nothing to anyone, right?
Well, and
At the end of the day.
it's very hard to get clear on the specific problems that those people are having.
Right.
Um, you know, um, it's like a business owner that says, "Oh, I can't niche down any further. I'm afraid I'm going to leave money on the table." And it really is the opposite. When you niche down and you get specific, you actually start to look more like the expert. Um, think about it this way: if you had a problem with your heart, do you want to go to a general practitioner, or do you want to go to a heart specialist? That person with the expertise is going to be more of a draw and to the right people for who they can help. So it's really important to think about that. And you know what the other thing is with when you niche down is to understand that you don't have to stay there. So if for some reason you niche down to a specific group and you realize that maybe this isn't the right thing, it doesn't mean that you have to be that expert for that target market forever. You can change it. So don't feel like you're stuck there. And if you have a target market and it goes really well, it doesn't mean that you can't add on another one later. So I know that isn't answering the question that
No,
you,
it is.
but I think that people really need to think about this.
Yeah, for example, if I was to position my business where I only work with, let's say, retail businesses,
Yeah,
even though I stipulate that on the front end, doesn't mean that people in the manufacturing industry aren't possibly going to be attracted to the type of work that I'm doing.
exactly. And funny enough, because you're so specific and you do get into the weeds of that industry and figure it out. I often find that ends up rippling out to other industries, as you said. Like, so if it was retail, then does it, somebody knows somebody else and they say, well, Nathan really helped me out with leadership, and you should try him out. So it just helps with your referrals too.
Well, Kim, we've got a couple of minutes left. I would like to hear, what's on your heart for 2026. What are your goals? What's happening in your world this new year?
So this year, I have launched my new newsletter called The
Nice.
Scene. So it's a weekly newsletter for service-based, uh, independent, service-based entrepreneurs. Um, Talking about AI trends, how to make your work easier, how to build your visibility and your messaging and your marketing. And I also do interview series. So I have my own podcast called The Scene Live. Those are things that are really lighting me up. And I know that, Nathan, you're actually coming on in a few weeks. So I'm excited to have you as well, and share your wisdom with people. And it's really about supporting the small business service providers that uh, there's so many people out there offering great expertise, and I just want to help them get out there and get in front of the right people. And, whether it's giving them their first opportunity to come on stage and present themselves, or, help them to find clarity in their brand, who they should be and who they want to be perceived as, and show up and start getting more clients and see people really grow their business. That's what's lighting me up this year.
Very cool. So for our listeners today, where can they sign up for your new newsletter?
So if you actually go on to my LinkedIn, you can connect with me there, and I will make sure that you have access to my newsletter. And you'll see on LinkedIn and YouTube The Scene Live.
All right. Well, Ken, this has been such a really great conversation today. And if you're a small business owner and you're watching this, I hope you're walking away, feeling a little lighter, maybe a little more clear, maybe even a little more fired up, to show up more in your business and get that clarity that Kim just talked about so well today. So, Kim, you made something that can feel overwhelming. Marketing and visibility feel, I think, way more doable, both for myself and those who are going to listen to this episode. So thank you so much for being here. So grateful to have you and to have you share your expertise with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathan. This has been wonderful.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you.